What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for July 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the podcast. It is Tuesday. It's time for a little motivation / positivity. And today we're going to go a little different than what we normally do. I've had one of these topics on the list for a couple weeks now. And over the course of those couple weeks, the list sort of grew, and I had an idea for sort of a little mini series. So over the next 4 weeks, we're going to focus on some issues that are specific to men in general. Obviously, it's one of those things that it's gotten better over the past 10, 15 years or so. However, it's still not necessarily taboo, but one of those things where men just are not supposed to talk about the things that are bothering them, or not supposed to have things bothering them. And I have a list of like 4 topics over the next 4 weeks we're going to discuss that you may be able to relate to, you may not, but I think in just talking with people and just observations, I think more men than not have similar issues and can relate to at least one of these. So hopefully this is going to help take more steps to normalizing being able to talk about issues. And I know there are times, even in my own life, where you kind of put everybody else's needs and feelings and everything first, and it's like, all right, never mind, I'm good. And you just kind of go through it. And a lot of times just hanging out with friends, and maybe this is just my mentality, sometimes it's like, you know what, you're just enjoying hanging out with the boys, that you don't necessarily want to bring up heavy stuff like that. So hopefully this will get the ball rolling and help normalize some of those things. But the topics will be parenting, body image, money and career, and relationships. And I think somewhere out of those 4, somebody out there will be able to relate at least with one of them. Today we're going to start with the parenting, and this was the original topic I had, and just one of those things. My kids are 7 and 8 going into 2nd and 3rd grade, and parenting is tough. And sometimes, like, I realize now that they're getting older, they have their groups of friends, and they're getting into more activities and things like that. I long for the days when they were babies, when the biggest issue you had was a sleepless night. And it's tough. And like, honestly, that was easy. And I know a lot of people will say bigger kids, bigger problems. And that is the truth. And it's tough in the sense that there's no blueprint. You don't, like, obviously you're basing it off of what your own experience was with your parents. And then you have your significant other, spouse, girlfriend, whatever, bringing in their experiences. And a lot of times they're not the same. And I know we run into that all of the time. There are things I do that she cringes at. There's things she does that I cringe at. And then you throw in grandparents and aunts and uncles who have their own set of values. And it's just a whole mess. And it's tough. And now, like I said, now that they're older with the sports and activities, it seems like everybody is over the top with some of these things. And I know it's a fine line, but like, how much is too much? Should we push them? Should we back off? It's tough because, and I don't know. And I mean, there's people that I've come across that I thought were very much into it, and then had a conversation with them. They're like, no, we're backing off for this season, or this was too much. They're starting to hate it. So it's definitely a fine line. Then you throw in friends and the worry about, will they be accepted? And the issue, I guess, is these things are just out of my control. And it's just like, you can only set them up and give them the tools and hope that they can do whatever. So all of those things. And then with school, like, how much do you push for reading, homework, things like that? You want to have that fine balance, but at the same time, you want them to do well. And especially for me, having an education background, it's like, oh, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that. So all of that, and then just the sense of wondering, am I doing a good job? Because it's tough sometimes for me anyway, to find that balance between losing my own identity and who I am and what I want to be, versus making sure that they're taken care of, but I'm involved enough and they don't have resentment issues and things like that. And that's the question I ask all the time. Am I doing the right thing? And yes, I know for the most part they're alive. Like, I've kept them alive for this long, so I got that going. But it's just what are their thoughts? Because I think back to some of the things with my parents, and I think that's one of the things that kind of keeps me going all the time is I worry about this, worry about that. But the things I remember, especially at that age, were sort of the moments. And sometimes it's singing a song, sometimes it's dancing, throwing a football on the beach, getting in the pool, having a football catch, judging handstands, helping with flips off the diving board, things like that. And I think it's always a struggle for me questioning whether I'm doing a good enough job. Am I doing this right? Did I handle this situation right? Because there's been plenty of situations I have not handled right. And just doing different things, I guess, than what, excuse me, some of the blueprint that we had, because my parents were from a different generation, and they were basing off of what their parents were completely different. It was way different back then. So just being open and honest and telling them, hey, I messed up. That was not the right way to handle that. Here's how I should have handled that. You're going to make mistakes. And I don't know. Like I said, I feel like this has turned into a ramble, but sometimes I think that's what we need as men. And I just think you can take anything away with your kids, and it's a struggle because it's hard for me to balance, especially working full time, trying to do the stuff for this podcast, which technically I guess is a hobby, but it's something that I believe in. And it's kind of a good life lesson for them too. It's like, follow your dreams, do what you need to do, but just be present. And I think for the most part, my situation is different because of my wife's job. I'm the one that gets them ready for school. I'm the one that gets them off the bus. I'm the one that spends a good bulk of that time with them. So sometimes she's the fun one, and I definitely get a lot of resentment and jealousy sometimes at that, because it's like, oh, I'm the one that's like, you got to get up and go to school, you got to do your homework, you have to do this, feed the dog, do your chores, and she's like, hey, let's go do this. So but I do think if you're in that situation, carving out the time and being present is a good way to do it. But that's our Tuesday motivation, just a little bit. Maybe you're struggling with some of those things with being a parent. Just know you're not alone. Every single day, it's just like, am I going to fuck these kids up? Sometimes I wonder, but I think being there every day, showing the consistency, and just doing the best you can, and just know that you're not alone. And hopefully that's what the takeaway is going to be from the next 4 weeks, that we're going to normalize talking our fears and insecurities, because we're not supposed to be, as men, we're not supposed to have fears or be insecure about anything. I'm super scared to be a parent, super insecure about the job I'm doing. Am I doing too much? Am I doing not enough? And finding that balance. So just know, hopefully some of you are able to take something away from that. Just know you're not alone. And let's normalize this. And truthfully, there's no shame in it. And if you feel like you need to talk to someone, hit me up, DM me, whatever you need to do. I can help you the best I can, put you in touch with a licensed therapist. No shame in going to therapy. One of the greatest things I've ever done in my life to help give me some clarity and guide me with certain things. So let's hope and normalize this. But I truly do hope that this next 4 weeks you'll be able to take something away, because I feel you see all these things on social media, it's fake. Like, there's no way things are that good because nobody puts the bad stuff on social media. So that's something to keep in mind. But as you go through your week, just let's normalize talking about the things that are bothering us, and spend a little bit longer today than I normally would on a Tuesday, but I do think it is an important thing. So as you go through your week, know that you're doing a great job. Just be there, and you're going to make mistakes. Kids are resilient. They will bounce back. But that is today's Tuesday motivation / positivity. And we'll have more next week on just issues that I'm sure most of us have some issues with. And if you're a lady out there listening as well, hopefully this will give you some insight too on what we go through on a daily basis. Always putting other people's needs and kind of pushing down some of those feelings sometimes. And I'm here to tell you it's okay to get them out. All right, let's do a quick housekeeping from yesterday. We talked about the 1955 Phillies and how they had their franchise long winning streak of 11 games, and it happened to be all home games, so it was the franchise record for home winning streaks. And I mentioned last year's Phillies, or I didn't mention this year's Phillies, but this year's Phillies earlier this season did have an 11-game home winning streak as well. So that was number 3 all time in Phillies history. And then speaking of the Phillies, man, a little nervous. 7-2. I think the positive takeaway is that the Ranger Suarez injury does not appear to be that serious. He looked very good yesterday, much better now that JT's back. But the bats went silent. I guess that's the concern. Bryce hit that absolute missile in the first inning, and then they didn't do anything. I went to bed. It was 2-0, and then I woke up. It was 7-2. So that's now 4 out of the last 5 they've lost. It's even worse if you extend it back. The other silver lining is the Braves lost, so they still have that 8.5 game lead. And this is the gauntlet part of their schedule. They're coming out. They have Minnesota, then Cleveland, the Yankees, the Mariners, and then the Dodgers. The Pirates, I guess, have been playing well, so you can kind of throw them in there, and they did take 2 out of 3. But Zach Wheeler's on the mound today. Hopefully they can calm it and settle it down. But I don't even know at this point. Like, it was all about they need bullpen help, excuse me, which I still think they do, but I mean, I feel like whenever their bats go cold, it's like contagious. They all go cold. So we'll see what the next few games brings, but I'm hoping that they'll snap out of it with Zach Wheeler on the mound. We need an ace-like performance from him today, but that is not guaranteed considering he's coming off his own back stiffness and soreness. But he was pitching well before he went out. And then Whit Merrifield signed with the Braves, and apparently I haven't heard an update yet. But he hurt his finger warming up. So take that or make of that what you will. But be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. New baseball episodes drop every Friday. That is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And Philly Goat has done it again. With all the uncertainty and turmoil with the election season, there's one team you can count on, and that's Tom McCarthy and John Kruk. And now they have a shirt and the yard signs to match. These shirts are awesome. I'm going to pick one up myself. But McCarthy, Kruk, and 24, the best broadcast team in baseball. They have T-shirts, and they do have the yard placards that you can put in your yard if you want as well. Go to phillygoat.com for that. 10% of these sales will benefit the Battle Brothers Foundation as well. So not only do you get a cool shirt, cool sign for your yard, but you're helping out a great organization that does great things for our vet. They have the new Mickey Morandini shirt with Mickey Mouse ears, so be sure to check that out as well. It's back to school season, so go to phillygoat.com. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That lets Ryan know that you are a listener. But get the McCarthy Kruk in 24, the Mickey Morandini shirt, and check out all the rest of their great selection of shirts, hats, hoodies, shoes, and you'll be happy. So go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Eagles open training camp today. First practice will be on Wednesday. And I'm still waiting to hear and see what the Jalen Hurts press conference is. I still think that some of it is overblown to a certain point. And I do feel that obviously the people that are telling you that it's a bigger deal are the media. And they're the ones that feel a certain type of way that he gave the answer he did. But I've said it 1,000 times. I feel the players are if it's about the game, yes, but what goes on behind the closed doors in the locker room, they have no obligation to let you know what it is. And truthfully, I don't necessarily care or need Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni to be best friends. I think I've mentioned this before too. There are plenty of bosses and supervisors that I currently have that I work with that I do not agree 100% most of the time. And there are times where I roll my eyes. There are times where I'm like, what the hell are they thinking? Probably similar to what Jalen does with Nick Sirianni. But as a professional, you go in and you do your job. And you have a good working relationship, because there are some good things that my bosses and supervisors do. So I don't need to be best friends with my boss in order to do my job effectively. So I think it's definitely overblown, but I'm anxious to see what he has to say tomorrow. I'm not sure if anybody saw this, but I definitely held my breath. I happened to see it live when I was in the gym yesterday, and Joe had one hell of a block yesterday that led to a fast break dunk for Anthony Edwards. Anybody else, if you've seen that, anybody else hold their breath the way Joe went after it and fell to the ground? You can debate whether it was a foul, this, that, and the other. I don't care about that. I was like, oh my God, he's hurt. But no, he was fine. But dude, I get that you're trying and you have one way to play, but save some of that for November, December, January. Come on, dude. Anyway. All right, today we're going to go back to 1990. And on this day in 1990, the Phillies beat the Mets 7-4 at the Vet. Through 5.5 innings, though, the Phillies were down 3-0 and being no-hit by Frank Viola. The Met fans, as per usual during that time period, had taken over the Vet. There was a lot of "Let's go Mets" chants, and that's just what they did back then. And then during the bottom of the fifth, a black cat walked in front of the Mets dugout. We all know what a black cat symbolizes. Well, from there, the luck ran out for the Mets. In the bottom of the sixth, 2 walks and an error loaded the bases. Charlie Hayes grounded out and knocked in a run. Still no hits, but now they were down 3-1. Randy Reddy walked then to load the bases again, and up stepped Dick Thon, who happened to be wearing a Notre Dame shirt that day for good luck to kind of change his fortunes around. He was in a little bit of a slump. Took Frank Viola's first pitch to deep left for a grand slam, breaking up the no-hitter, giving the Phillies a 5-3 lead. When it was all said and done, they had 5 runs on 1 hit, 3 walks, and an error. It was the first and only grand slam of Dickie Thon's career. But not only did he break up the no-hitter, he helped lead the Phils to a 7-4 victory, all because of that black cat that walked in front of the Mets dugout. There are some of you out there who are Notre Dame fans that will credit it to the Notre Dame shirt. Hey, I'm fine with that as well. But on this day in 1990, Phils beat the Mets 7-4 at the Vet. Frank Viola was no-hitting them through 5 innings, and then the wheels came off as Dickie Thon broke up the no-hitter with a grand slam. Not something you see too often during a no-hitter. Phils win 7-4 thanks to Notre Dame, the Black Cat, whatever you wanted to credit it to. Excuse me. All right, we have our first 2 Final Four participants in the Ultimate Philly Nickname Tournament. Out of the Ben Franklin region, the Broad Street Bullies had no problem with the Boston Strangler winning with 85% of the vote. They move on to the Final Four. And in the Cheesesteak region, our number 1 overall seed, Chocolate Thunder, is out. Knocked out by scrappy underdog, The Answer, the number 3 seed. The Answer moves on with 58% of the vote. So 2 members already in. You got the Broad Street Bullies and The Answer, who will be joining them. As I've been mentioning, there's not much left to say about these guys that I haven't said already. So out of the Schuylkill, the Dr. J will take on the number 4 seed, the Axeman. And out of the Balboa region, the Executioner will take on the Flyin Hawaiian. Dr. J is one of the greatest Sixers ever. He's an ABA and an NBA legend. Not just a Sixer legend, an NBA and ABA legend. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Combined in both leagues, he's won 3 championships, 4 MVPs, 3-time scoring champ. was partly responsible for bringing the last NBA championship to Philadelphia in 1983. He got his nickname from his friend who called him Doctor. He would call his friend the Professor. He scored over 30,000 points in the ABA and NBA. His number 6 hangs in the rafters and could possibly be a sleeper now in this tournament to win it all. The Chocolate Thunder is out. He is taking on the number 4 seed, the Axeman, the kid from Rooks, Texas, and Stephen F. Austin. Got his name because of his celebration to honor his dad. His dad would chop wood. Jeremiah would help him. He's an Eagles Hall of Famer, a Philadelphia Sports Hall of Famer, 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. He was an All-American at Stephen F. Austin in 1997. For his career, 12.5 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 9 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. One of the greatest linebackers in Eagles history, one of only 4 to make 4 or more Pro Bowls. He also gave us the Axeman Jr., who I'm expecting some big things from this year. We've talked about throughout this whole tournament about Trotter's work ethic. Obviously, he's passed that on to his son. So who do you got? What is the better Philly sports nickname? Is it Dr. J or the Axeman? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get your vote in and get anything else Philly sports related off your chest. You want to talk about our Tuesday motivation positivity? That's perfectly fine too. If you just need to vent, call and leave me a voicemail and just vent about your kids, about what you're worried about, whatever you need to do. But let's get that nickname tournament vote in. Dr. J, the Axeman. You can also hit me up on social media, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. You can vote on Facebook. You can vote on LinkedIn. You can email me, whatever you got to do to get that vote in. But who goes to the Final Four, Dr. J or the Axeman? And then out of the Balboa, it's the Executioner versus the Flyin Hawaiian. Bernard Hopkins, 2-time champion at 2 weight classes. To me, Philly's best boxer of all time. He's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, the oldest fighter to ever win a major title. Got his nickname because of his speed and precision. Defended the middleweight title 20 times. And back to the Executioner, though, the whole getup, like the speed and precision of an Executioner, but then he would wear the hood, put his X up. If you've never seen it, look it up. It didn't matter what music you played. It was an intimidating sight to see. He is our number 1 seed out of the Balboa region. And then Shane Victorino, the Flyin Hawaiian, 2-time All-Star, World Series champion in Philly, also won one in Boston. 3 gold gloves in Philly, won another one, I believe, in Boston as well. Hit the game-winning walk-off home run on Shane Victorino Day in front of his dad. The grand slam off of CC, the big homer against the Dodgers in the NLCS. Got his name because of the way he played the game and the fact that he is from Hawaii. And I've said it 1,000 times already. You're probably tired of hearing me. My last seen image of the Flyin Hawaiian is the Jimmy Superfly Snuka on top of the pile after they won the World Series in 2008. But now it's your turn. What is the better Philly sports nickname? Do we have the Dr. J or the Dr. J? Do we have Dr. J versus the Axeman, the Executioner versus the Flyin Hawaiian? Who do you got? What's the better Philly sports nickname? Get the vote in. Who's going to the Final Four to join the answer in the Broad Street Bullies? We will find out tomorrow. And another quick housekeeping note. The championship for the Ultimate Nickname Tournament will be Thursday. And then Friday, we will begin our Olympic coverage where we will spotlight current people from the area who are going over to Paris to compete in the Olympics. Very excited about that. Have compiled a pretty cool list. And the fact that we have so many Olympians from this area is also pretty cool as well. On this day in 1990, Phillies beat the Braves 7-4. They were getting no hit for 5 innings, and then Dick Thon came up and hit a grand slam to give the Phillies the lead and break up the no-hitter, all because of the black cat or the Notre Dame shirt, whichever one you want to say did it. I'm fine with either one. Phils look to break out of whatever slump they are in. It happens. It does happen. I'm still nervous. My concern meter is starting to beep ever so slightly. It is good that the Braves have not been able to take advantage of it. We're getting lucky, but I am concerned because they're starting to see the areas of need, I guess, for this team. So let's hope that Dombrowski addresses them, and this is just a short little blip on the radar as we go toward the ultimate prize of the World Series. Anxious to see if Jalen even speaks today. As soon as Jalen speaks, I will keep you updated. But get those votes in for the Ultimate Nickname Tournament. Who's going to the Final Four? 267-495-8531. Lots to talk about today. Lots to get off your chest. Feel free to leave voicemails, text me, whatever you got to do. But remember, for our Tuesday motivation, trying to normalize, it's okay to talk about what's bothering you. It's okay to have things bothering you. I think sometimes for some of us, that's the first step, knowing that it's okay to have things that are upsetting to us. But if you have anything you like to talk about being a parent, insecurities, questions, whatever you might have, just know you're not alone, man. I worry every day I'm going to fuck up my kids. And knock on wood, I don't think I have yet, but it's a struggle every day and a real fear and a real concern of mine. So if you're out there, let me know, and excuse me, I will help you to the best I can, or get you to someone who can help. But go. It's supposed to be an okay day today, I think. Hopefully, because we were going to try to go for a bike ride later this afternoon. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for July 23rd, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.